Hello and welcome to Book Talk. So this is where I'll be talking about books that I have read recently, and in this video I'm going to talk about Vivek Shanbhag's Ghachar Ghochar. So this book was originally written in Kannada, and it was published in, I think, 2013 if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check. It was originally published in 2013 in the original language, and it was translated into the English by Srinath Perur, and was published in 2017, the translation. So I think this book is quite known, especially among booktubers, and I think that is kind of like how I discovered this book as well. And it was really intriguing, the premise of this book. It's also quite small, so if you are interested in reading a smaller book, novella length fiction, then I would suggest that you can start with, this is probably one of those books that you can start with, Ghachar Ghochar. So what is this book about? This book is about a family. It is kind of marketed as this, rags to riches story, where you have this family just sort of starts as in this like kind of poor family in India, and then one day the uncle. So in this family, not only you have the uncle, you also have the parents, you have the narrator, and also the sister. And one day the uncle, he decides to just kind of start a spice business after the father in the family loses his job. So after the uncle starts the spice business, their business just become successful and they become rich overnight. So quickly they kind of move to a better house, they live a better life, and things just kind of change for them socioeconomically. But at the same time, this change in their socioeconomical status also brings about some change in their family dynamics. It kind of brings out certain personalities in the family members, and safe to say, this is kind of like one of those books where you can kind of surmise it as, wealth changes people. But I think this is where I'll just kind of add on to that. I think that it is not really a straightforward story where you can pretty much say that wealth changed people, because usually when we think of a story where wealth changed people, you immediately think of how the person or a group of people or a family receives this amount of riches, and instantly their personality change. They become this, the dark part of their personality just emerge, and they become this bad people, which is to say, this book is not exactly 100% that. That is really straightforward, really predictable kind of plot, I would say. This book is much more nuanced than that. There is definitely darkness in here, but it is not a straightforward where people becomes bad. So another way of seeing this book is, what you can expect from this book is that this book is a domestic fiction through and through. So one of the types of fiction that I really love is domestic fiction, and I can say that I enjoy this book. I enjoy the domestic fiction part of it. I really enjoy the family relationship, family dynamics between all these different members of a family, how they interact with one another before and after the wealth, and also how they interact with people outside the family circle. So this book is about relationship. It's about how people interact with other people, and it gets really interesting because it plays around with how their economical background just pretty much affects their the person. One of the themes that is really strong in this book is the theme of family. Duh. And just another thing to expect is and it is going to be kind of recurrent in this book, is the idea of a close-knit family. Just to give you an idea, at the beginning of this book, we see how this family, before they become rich, they are quite a close-knit family. They are really tight, they are really close to one another, and that is going to be a theme that is going to pop up again and again throughout this book, before and after the wealth. And it is going to be played around with, and I'm not going to say how, but it is definitely going to be a kind of like not exactly a symbolism, but just pretty much a recurrent theme in this book. It's like a running theme, so expect that one to be kind of prominent in this novella. And also, you might be interested with the title, because I definitely was quite intrigued by the title, Ghachar Ghochar. And I don't want to say so much about the title, what's the origin of the title, because part of the fun is actually discovering the origin of this phrase. I'm not even going to say what's the meaning, even though if you Google around, or if you watch, or if you read any of the synopsis in the bookseller's website or anywhere, you'll probably see the meaning of this phrase. But I'm not going to talk so much about it. It has some negative connotation, and it kind of has something to do with family. Whether its meaning or its origin has something to do with family, I'm not going to say more than that. So generally, as to what this book is about, that's pretty much it. It's just about the family who becomes rich and how the family changes. And I like this book. It is a very nuanced take on how family members interact with one another, and also with people outside the family. And it feels very specific to that particular family. So it kind of reminds me of this famous first line. I'm not sure what is the exact line because I don't memorize it, by Tolstoy from Anna Karenina. It's something about how happy families are alike, and then unhappy families are unhappy in their own ways. And this book really reminds me of that phrase, although it kind of has a little bit of twist. Basically, in this novella, the family, it's not necessarily happy or unhappy. They're kind of like a mix of both happy and unhappy. But they are both happy and unhappy in their own ways. So it's not like they're happy just like any other families are happy. They are happy in their own way. And there is going to be a bit of a dark side to that, a more ominous, sinister side to that happiness. So expect that as well. So that is kind of like why I really enjoy this book. It plays around with so much of that darkness in people, but it's not all dark. So I expect a little bit of darkness in this book. One of the things, before I wrap up this video, one of the things that I just kind of want to mention is, it is something that I feel is going around in my head, and that is the imagery of ants in this book. So for those of you who are looking to buy this book, you may have seen some of the covers of Ghachar Ghochar having images of ants, which is interesting, although some of the book covers look kind of disgusting because ants are disgusting. But anyway, ants actually appear in this book in this like sort of a major way. It appears sometime in the middle, where the family just turns from poor to rich. And this is just kind of like something that I find really relatable. I feel like it's very personal to me, and I don't know if this is the intention of the author. So without giving too much away, let me just say that the ants appear, like I said before, when the family turns rich. And for me, that kind of reminds me of how ants symbolizes change, and how I end up with this this thought is pretty much because of what I personally experienced. I don't know whether it was really like that, or it was just really coincidence, but I remember when I was younger, when we moved homes, whenever we have like changes in our lives, suddenly ants just swarm into our home. So I don't know, it feels like something that is super familiar. When I read about the ants in this book and how the families are changing their fates at the time, I feel like ants are associated with change, and I already had that perception regarding ant infestations already. It's not just something that happened one time in my life, it also happened a few times, and those few times whenever I see ant infestations in our house, it usually happened during the times of change, whether it's change in where we live or change in our circumstances and all of that. So it feels kind of personal. It feels like a very eerie deja vu, and this is just like my own personal observation. I'm not sure if any of guys experienced this also. I'm not sure if you actually have a different take on what the imagery of ants is supposed to represent in this book, so I would love to know about that as well. I'm not sure what is the intention of the author of including the ants in this book. So yeah, I would love to know what you think. So that's it for all of my thoughts regarding Ghachar Ghochar. I would love to know what you think about this book. Have you read it? Or are you interested in reading it? If you have read it, do you like it? Do you dislike it? What stood out to you if you have read this book? Let me know in the comments. I would love to just kind of talk more about it in the comments, chat about it. So yeah, that's it about Ghachar Ghochar this time in this video. So I'll see you again in a different video. So until then, take care. Thanks for watching and bye bye.